It says I'm live. Is there anybody there? I don't know. Let's give it a moment. I'm still kind of figuring all this stuff out. It says that I'm on. That's all I know for sure. And it has a live chat option. So hopefully, I'm broadcasting a couple different places if it works. A Facebook page, YouTube channel, my website, but I can't confirm all those places. So hopefully it's streaming and going well. Again, we'll give this another minute or so. Still working out the glitches, you know. I'm so used to presenting to live audiences. This is very odd for me. I mean, I'm basically feel like I'm talking to myself, which I do pretty often. But so it's just an unusual dynamic to speak to myself and know that people are there. And again, what I love most about presenting in public, which I've done for so many years as an author and as a teacher guide, is that I like that interaction. I like to see the expressions. I like to see the curiosity. I like to be interrupted with questions. So the comment tab does seem to be working. So please feel free to type in your comments and or questions as we go along. And hopefully this is a whole lot better than what it was before. You can see me, you can see the screen, you can see the images, which I put a lot of time into to illustrate what we're going to be talking about. Let's give another moment here. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to Spiritual Triangle once again. This is the review reboot. We had so many glitches in that first one. Again, I'm working them all out, but I'm pretty smart. And so within a few tries, this will be pretty smooth and seamless and pretty top notch. My intention is to be able to broadcast on a Facebook page for Spiritual Triangle, as well as my website, as well as here on YouTube simultaneously. But we'll see. That's a little ambitious, but that's me. I'm a little ambitious. That's part of what was going wrong with the first workshop is I was a little bit too ambitious. I had a live audience. I was in a big room. Anyway, let's get right to it, shall we? What is Spiritual Triangle? Let's kind of begin there. Spiritual Triangle is a synthesis, a perfect harmonic synthesis of mystical modalities, correspondences, astrology, numerology, tarot, I Ching, and the Tree of Life from Kabbalah. These systems, numerology, astrology, tarot, these systems have been synthesized for centuries. Most people don't know it, but they're actually designed to go together. Their origins begin with each other. They more than synthesize, they depend on each other. Not only do you get a broader perspective by looking at all the correspondences of anything you're looking into and reading, you also get details. So a broader perspective and also finer details. It has a lot to do with how you look at things. So I've learned as I do these readings that as I'm reading someone's numerology, I know it's coming in the tarot and the I Ching and astrology, but it has different context. It has a different purpose. Numerology for me is way more thorough. It's there to really guide and give insights to not only what is coming, but what you can do. And that is, I think, the unique brand of what Spiritual Triangle offers. For those who get a full reading, and for those who get partial readings for the year or for the life purpose only, this is a lifelong tool. The full readings are 16, 20 pages. You never know what it's going to be because I just read it until it's done. And it's a lifelong tool. You'll always be able to draw back to it and get more out of it and be able to apply it to the circumstances that are unfolding in your life today. So you can see here, let me move a little bit, numerology, tarot, sacred geometry, which is the image that you see, astrology, I Ching, and the Tree of Life. Now, as a lifelong mystic, I've always loved them all. I mean, it's hard for me to decide which one that I favor. But numerology, when I found numerology in my late 20s, It was just absolutely spoke to me. So I knew I had a lot of past life experience with it. Some not so good. I abused a lot of power. We all have. Excuse me. And so years ago, being a great lover of the I Ching, because it is something that gives you absolute direction, tells you what to do. And I love that about it. The ancient Chinese system and the Tree of Life, which is such a profound, vast, wide spectrum of tools. It's so poetic and beautiful, and it just covers everything. And so I was intrigued, and I just knew they had to sync up together. How could 64 hexagrams with the I Ching not sync up with numerology and sacred geometry the way that tarot and astrology does? And so I sampled it, and it does fit perfectly. So spiritual triangle is a perfect synthesis, a harmonic synthesis of these modalities that work very well on their own, but when combined together, they become something profound, in depth, and something far more than a system of divination, which is to basically tell the future, predict events, but to give you a very close-up view of what is taking place now, what's taking place soon, what has taken place in the past, and to put it in context and perspective for your own growth. Primarily, we are indeed talking about spiritual growth. Yes, there are a lot of insights into your material reality, money, career, family, etc. Those are important too. But primarily, they're always going to be kind of dovetailed back to what you can gain from this on a spiritual level, because this is a spiritual modality. Let's take a look. So you may remember, anybody who was here last week, that this is kind of a repeat, but now you can see the images. That is me, by the way, at 3 years old. I guess I was a cute kid. That kid's kind of cute. So it says, what do you want to be when you grow up? As any child, I was always asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I thought, is our adults this shallow that they can't think of anything more original than what's my favorite color? What's my favorite animal? What do I want to be when I grow up? I am 3. How do I know? I don't know anything. I know I'm supposed to say fireman or cowboy, but it didn't seem to fit for me. And so in spite of this little innocent boyish face, I was this very deep thinker from the get-go. I had very intact memories of my prior life. And I thought I was crazy and was wondering, like, how can I even know what crazy is? I mean, I'm 3. And I had these memories when I was 1.5 and 2 that were coming in. So what did I want to be when I grew up? And I said, I want to be enlightened. I didn't know what that was. I couldn't possibly, but instinctively and intuitively, that's what I wanted to be. I knew that I wanted to be something more, something profound. I wanted to experience something that was beyond what I was seeing and feeling around, or perceiving around me. This is partly what ultimately all mystical modalities are about. All methods of mysticism and spirituality are to drive us to a point where we become enlightened, where we become one with the everything, the cosmic flow and flux, and or to transcend that and become enlightened spiritually. There is a difference. As in Buddhism, Buddha teaches you how to become one with everything. The cosmic hot dog, one with everything. But it leaves out the spiritual and the divine. People consider it a spiritual philosophy, but it's not. It's actually it is a spiritual philosophy, not a religion or spiritual path. I don't want to just be enlightened. I want to be one with everything. I want to be one with the divine power, the divine love, and the divine essence. It's important when you are experimenting with and getting familiar with mystical modalities to know what your goal is. What do you want? What do you want to be when you grow up? When you spiritually mature, what do you want to be? Because whatever you want to be, that's you got to drive to. You can't use the wrong modality for the wrong destination. You got to pair the right ones together. Ultimately, what Spiritual Triangle reveals to us is that these are paths and methods and tools to use to expand our consciousness and to drive us and bring us to the threshold of enlightenment. When we combine them together instead of just one, again, early in my mystic days in the 90s when I started to actually practice all these things instead of just studying them. I couldn't decide day to day. I was like, oh no, I like astrology. Oh no, I like tarot. They were all so effective. And it was so profound to realize there was a system out there that was recognized their synthesis together. So I didn't have to choose. So we have these different modalities. We're going to go into this a little bit. So we've got numerology, tree of life, tarot, I Ching, astrology, and sacred geometry. We're going to briefly go over each one. This is just a primer, a summary. For the adept, they'll know all more than what I'm going to present here today, but because of my dedication to a lifelong of study of volumes of material. I mean, I started reading when I was 3 and 4, and I haven't stopped. I was already reading 2-3 books at a time all my life, still do. And I've consumed all this knowledge. I could not get enough. And what was disheartening for me throughout my life is the work that people had to do. It was no wonder that most people were not getting the knowledge aspect of mysticism and spirituality because it's so complicated and so challenging. Who's got time for that? I mean, I've consumed books that are as big as my head, and one after another. And they're so intellectual and so cerebral that they're really challenging. I mean, I'm reading now for like the 5th time Israel Regardie's Garden of Pomegranates on Kabbalah. It's the quintessential Kabbalistic volume, but you better get your brain on because this thing is very intellectual, very practical, very scientific. It takes a lot. And that's why I read it at night, so it puts me to bed, puts me to sleep. Not because it's boring, because it just really exercises your mind. And so it was disheartening for me through my mystical career is that I felt that mystics had this knack for making it so complicated and so cerebral that it basically shut a lot of people out. And I didn't think that was okay. So many things in life are that way. It's like getting a monopoly on these things because if you can't match wits with some of these cerebral intellectuals, then you can't participate in these processes and benefit from them. And they do work very simply. And that's also the benefit of the services that I provide. I did all this work so you don't have to. I've done all the studying. I've got volumes of material and knowledge that I've spent my lifetime committed to, and I'm able to distill this into 30 and 45-page booklets that are illustrated, that are profound, and absolutely cover almost everything you need to know with it. Can you go deeper? Sure. My Kabbalah workbook is maybe 40 pages, and it covers a lot. I'm talking 5 or 6 books I've read that are this thick, distilled into this 45-page workbook. Can you go deeper? Does it have everything? Well, sure, you can go deeper. Obviously, there's more, but it's more than just a primer. It gives you more than enough to use it, enough for your whole life. All the workbooks that I have and that I'm working on do exactly that. Knowledge is power, and I want to empower everyone. As a behavioral counselor, an addiction specialist throughout the world, again, what broke my heart is that it was so inaccessible for people that really needed help to get the help they needed. And so the recovery empire hates me because I make this knowledge and these tools available for anybody. I can smart it up or dumb it down, whatever it's going to work for this particular individual, so they can custom make it. So let's take a look at these different modalities and see what we can kind of gain from them. So what I was saying is that even though you may know about them, my perspectives and my research may add a newer or deeper dimension that even adepts don't always consider. So again, it makes us feel kind of dumb when we look at these things like, oh my God, it's just so complicated. We look at some of these books and think, oh my God, I mean, we're talking about ancient material. So how do they work? Let's see how they work. Numbers. Numerology. Gotta put on my glasses. The universal language. Your name. A, B, C, D, all the letters in the alphabet correspond to a number. A is 1, B is 2, etc. The consonants in your name and the vowels in your name and the birth date and your time. That's also an innovation of my own. Birth date was always a part of numerology. That's how you get someone's life purpose. but I'm able to do a magnified view, which I love doing, to use the birth time if I can get it. And it's so accurate, it's so dead on. And I just instinctively knew that it was going to match up. So what we get with the consonants in our name is the expression numerologically of our outer personality, how we express ourselves to the world. The vowels are our soul, the inner essence of what we are. And the birth date, the day and time you were born, just like astrology, which is also location, determines the influences for you to be able to realize a specific mission, why you're here. Now, we're all here to be enlightened. When you get down to, we're all here for the same purpose. It isn't different for everybody, but we have different paths and different routes and different benefits and different detractions, different obstacles. So we got to work with those things. With our particular circumstance, we got to work with those. So numerology allows us to dissect through the vibrations that are inherent in our name, through the vowels and consonants and our birth dates, and as I've engineered, our birth time as well. Then we have astrology, which synthesizes with it. Numerology is all numbers, of course, and it goes on infinitely. But we can always break everything down to numbers because numbers is the universal language. It is cosmically universal. I don't care what galaxy you're in, or what you call number one, uno, whatever it may be. They all have the same value. The zodiacal sphere, the celestial sphere, as they call it, of all the houses in the zodiac, the 12 signs. It's kind of like our clock that goes around through 12. These are superimposed on the geometrical blueprint of manifestation and provide their influence. Now, astrology shouldn't work, but it does. How does stars that create the constellation for Taurus affect us here? Not only are these stars millions of light years away, by the way, that is huge, light years. We're talking about the distance that light can travel in a year. And it's, 93,000 miles per second? So the astrology, I'm just reading some of the comments here. Okay, so astrology, again, it's superimposed. Not only is the constellation Taurus or Cancer, whatever one you are, not only are these things so far away, but the stars that make them up are all distant from each other. And I don't mean just far apart, I mean in depth. One is far closer to us than the one that's the other horn of his head. They're not just far apart, like I said, in distance as in width, but in distance as in length. How can they have the same influence? We know why the moon has an influence on our tides and on our body, because it pulls on water with gravity. But how's a star that's so far away that the light that we're seeing from it, it may not even be there anymore? That star may be gone because it takes sometimes thousands of years for the light that we're seeing to even reach us. That's mind-blowing. And yet, the bottom line is, with astrology, is even though it shouldn't work, it does. We have the signs, we have the houses, and the deacons. The signs, we all know, are 12 zodiacal signs. Houses are the categories of life and existence that are represented: family, career, health, etc. These are also on the wheel of the celestial sphere. The deacons are the degrees of the houses. So in your spiritual triangle reading, when you see your astrological deacon, 20 degrees Aries or 30 degrees Cancer, or sun and moon elements, or fire elements and water, or sun and moon planetary influences. These deacons, again, as we move through the celestial sphere with our numerology and with our tarot and other correspondences, it is where these things are located in that celestial sphere. The 10 degrees of Aries is different than the 30 degrees of Aries. They're similar, but they're very different. In the same way that I'm still the same guy as when I wake up in the mornings, when I go to bed, but I'm a different guy, a different mood. based on where I'm at in my day, where I am at in my experiences. So we're always being influenced by these things. They're always changing. Then we have tarot. Tarot cards are numbered. There are 78 of them. So we automatically get a numerological correspondence right there. Any number between any number from 1 to 78 corresponds to a tarot card. So it's not some random selection when you get your reading, the tarot cards that you're seeing. These correspond to the number of frequencies from your numerology, from your name and your birth date, etc. And I can say the same thing about astrology, tarot and astrology, that in a way it shouldn't work, but it does. Tarot is not just a system of divination. It was originally designed to be an exposure and a revelation of the human condition, the fool's journey through the tarot deck of the major arcana and the minor arcana. The fool's journey, and he's key 0. The fool's journey through the tarot deck is the life experience, the spectrum of human experience, everything you can experience. What we draw and what is influencing us is particular to a certain vibration. That's why, as a medium or an intuitive, when we're reading for somebody, it's not just random. Their energy, my energy, is pulling the right card. And I got to tell you, in a way, any card will do. Any card will do. Pick any card. It will absolutely fit, because it's not just a convenient truth. It's both. It's a synchronicity paradox. The card you draw just randomly from a deck you could say coincidentally sync up to what it is you're inquiring about. Or you could also say that the card you pulled was influenced by the question you asked, the energy that you're intuiting, that you're channeling through your own fingers and hands to pull the card. So you can say you're seeing what you want to see, but you're also channeling what the card you pulled wasn't a mistake. There are no mistakes. So the tarot is the journey of the fool through the major arcana of the different personalities and experience of the human spectrum, the magician that initiates him and begins his journey with the elements, the wand, the suits of the tarot, the hanged man who sees life upside down and represents reversal, profound card, and the hermit, which I've often felt like I am isolated and alone and just trying to shed light for those climbing the peak, the holy mountain. And the minor arcana is basically, if the major arcana are the more events and more representations of the personalities such as guru and God, etc., and concepts, the minor arcana breaks those things down, again, puts them under the microscope and brings them more detailed. And they can absolutely represent individual people and animals, etc., in your life and events. So the synchronicity is that for every number in your reading, whatever number it is for your life purpose, your soul, your outer personality, the annual year, the temporary vibration we're reading into, syncs up to a card. Which card? Whatever number is the card in the deck. They go in order, 1 through 78. Starts with Fool 0, goes to one magician, ends with, what is it? It would probably be nine of pentacles. I'm kind of guessing here. So this is how they sync up. Again, what we get with the correspondences is, as we get this very thorough view of the numerology, the tarot gives us a different perspective, a different angle to see the same information, but from a either more detailed or from a slightly different angle, to give us a better perspective, a more well-rounded one. That, again, two people can be looking at a sunset. We're both seeing different things, because even though we're side by side, the slight variation between where you sit and where I sit change the angle of the sun, the influence that it has ever so slightly. And that makes a lot of a difference. So that's tarot. Then we have sacred geometry, which creates the blueprint itself. Sacred geometry is the blueprint, the material manifestation is laid upon. God is a divine creator. And I'm not saying me, I don't know why I'm doing that. God is a divine creator. And when God begins the manifestation of the material phenomena, this is done through a system that's sensible and smart and perfect. Sacred geometry illustrates it. The Sri Yantra is the image you're looking at here. I can tell you for a fact, I've meditated on many yantras, but still to this day, the Sri Yantra, you get lost. It breaks down everything, all your perception. It breaks down everything you know logistically, geographically, mathematically, to the point where you just get lost into a state of samadhi. Sacred geometry allows us to have that blueprint, to be able to see the map that we're living on and we're traveling on in our lives. God geometrizes in the process of manifestation and creation. The circle, God is a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. I love that saying. The value of it is zero, neither a beginning nor an end. It's hard to elaborate or elucidate much on the circle and the zero because it's ineffable, beyond practical, everyday, reasonable consciousness. It has to be conceived of and perceived of conceptually. The zero is the beginning and the end, the alpha and the omega. I'm kind of reaching out so I can see my other screen over here. Again, whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. I love that saying. It just sums it all up. The value of it is zero. Again, we're talking about the process of manifestation of creation, which we're all a part of. And when you understand this process of manifestation and creation, well, then it allows you to be able to have insights of how it all works and how you fit into it. And when you understand that, then you get to not manipulate it, but you get to flow with it rather than against. And when you flow with a stream, then you get to your destinations. So we begin with sacred geometry in the circle, the zero, the God power. Then the point. Matter, these glasses are horrible. Matter exists with no relativity. The value is one. So the point, it's a spot existent. Material phenomena has begun, the singularity event of the Big Bang. Nothing came before it, everything came after it. Everything condensed into a single point, so hot and so dense that it explodes. So before it explodes, the singularity is that point of one, that point and that spot existence, the value of one. And then, as the Big Bang occurs, manifestation begins its unfoldment. And we get the line. Relativity and location. We have a here and a there, a now and a then, that we didn't have before with the point. Manifestation is taking on a dimension. It's unfolding. Spirit descends is what the line represents. From up on high, spirit descends into matter. And the matter is the horizontal line. And you can see the very familiar symbol of the cross. The cross was always, well before Christianity, the glyph, the symbol of spirit descending into matter. The value of two, which we have relativity now. So you see we're progressing through the numerology. You can see how these blend together and how they speak with each other and depend on each other. They're not different. They're not different at all. They're absolutely rely on each other. So now we get three: the triangle, the triad, body, mind, and spirit, conscious, subconscious, superconscious, mother, father, child, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit. Value of three. The 3 points. So now we have the spatial dimensions and time, relativity. Things are taking on a new context. We have an identity, something of a personality. Now it's not just a thing anymore. It has a sense of self-awareness. It has 3 points, not just 2 lines, but it has awareness of itself. I think that's a great way to describe what the triangle is, that it now has awareness of itself. It connects all of its points together. The square, the cardinal directions, elements, value of 4. Now we have the solid material manifestation. The square represents the earth. It represents the material, the dense. And I don't say dense in a bad way. The dense as in solid, solidity. Our triangle, our triad, has expanded to something that is beyond us. We had self-awareness, but we also have this different, separate existence between us and the material world. We are separate from it, and yet we're also a part of it. We've expanded ourselves, become one with it in a way. But we got to be careful, because we don't really want to become one with the material world, because otherwise we get stuck. And so we expand even more to the cube. 4 directions plus depth, a value of 5. Again, what I love about as these things are portrayed and we discuss them is that I can feel people's just sense and logic just popping. You can see that it all just kind of fits together seamlessly. And then once again, we want to go to value of 6. We have the philosopher's diamond, also known as the Star of David. Spirit ascends and descends. And this is what the Judaic Star of David, the philosopher's diamond, is what it was called even before then, represents. The descending triangle is spirit descending into matter, and the ascending is us reaching back up and going back to divinity, towards enlightenment. Your conventional Judaic individual that you might meet on the street, if you ask them to explain what the Star of David is, they won't be able to tell you. It has such a rich, deep history. It's so encoded with so many different levels, so much knowledge. It says a lot, and it's a symbol we can work with a lot. It's a great one to meditate on. And as you saw in the Sri Yantra, when I first began the sacred geometry section of this, what was that? Nothing but triangles everywhere, all emanating out and all being contracting in. Expanding and contracting all at once, just like our breathing. Expanding and contracting all at once. So that kind of sums up sacred geometry. And there it is again, Sri Yantra, with all those, again, if you stare at the center of it, eventually you'll get lost like an optical illusion, and you'll feel it just expanding out, and then you'll be able to focus, and you'll see it contracting in, expanding, like breathing, in and out, expansion and contraction. And this is our spiritual journey, expansion and contraction. To be able to expand, open our chakras, and also being able to receive what they bring in, and what we transmit out, we receive back in. So there we are with the sacred geometry. We have this. This is our spiritual triangle blueprint based on Pythagoras. Now, I'm not a mathematician. This is way above my pay grade. I can't follow any of this. I know what it means. Hypotenuse equal to the sums of both sides and blah, 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 blah. I can quote it pretty much usually, but I can't possibly understand it. Pythagoras was a mathematician, but the reality is he was a philosopher. He's a spiritual philosopher. And while this ends up being most of his work ends up being integral to physics and things that we know of in science, that wasn't his aim. He's the one that coined the term, the phrase, omnia in numera sit sunt. Everything lies veiled in numbers. He saw that numbers being universal language. And when numbers take shape, that's what geometry is about. sacred geometry is just that. And when you get down to it, is any geometry not sacred? Yes, every shape is sacred. But there are core, soul shapes that everything emanates from. And again, we already went over those. The circle, the point, the line, the triangle, the square. Sacred geometry provides us with this blueprint. We can see here the zero, because this is where life begins. This is where spirit descends into matter. See the cross, the heart of it. When we incarnate, we begin our journey through life on our first 9 years of life. Every line on the triangle, on this sacred geometry shape, represents 9 years. And that, again, is not just some subjective coincidence or just something that was convenient. It lines up. Why 9? Because 9 is the ending of a cycle. Once we go to 10, what are we doing? Well, just repeating the same frequency at a higher octave. Is that arbitrary? No. Star of Days is a gateway. Yes, it is. It's a portal. Yes, it is. Sacred geometry is a portal. What this is a portal. Everything that we're looking at here is a portal. So that's a great way to look at it. Because the portal is just that. It's a doorway. It's an opening for us to be able to view in and view out and be seen and be able to egress and transgress and trespass and go through. They're gateways and doorways, absolutely. So what we have here is our youth square from 0 to 27, our power square from 27 years old to 54. This is where in youth, all we're doing is taking in raw material and raw experience. We don't have yet the true ability to be able to sift and sort it through. Now, if you ask a 25-year-old, they swear they do. But those of us who are a bit older, we know, no, we didn't. But to get to this power square, maybe all the way around it, before we start to realize what we didn't know in our youth square. Youth square is about gaining and gathering raw material, experience, and data to be able to churn it and manufacture it and convert it into something when we finally have the intuitive and the insight to be able to, which begins in our power years. When we turn 27 is when we turn the corner. You go throughout history and you will see that all the sages and saints and all the big events in some of our world leaders' lives, they all occur between 25 and 33. So it's not dead on 27. It varies a little bit. And on the website, I give you a primer of the sacred geometry and about the 9 and 27-year cycles. And I give you a list of personalities and historical figures and what they did. St. John of the Cross, the Buddha, Christ, who began his mission in this area of his life. All of them. My guru, Kripalu, became the Jagat Guru at 35, which had never been anything like that before. So again, when we understand this, we know not only what's coming or what could come, not what's absolutely coming. What we can do is we can not only prepare, but we can also enhance it. I want to get the most out of my experiences. I don't want them to just happen. I want to interact with them. I want to be a participant, not just a subject of fate. I want to be interactive with it. I want to have the first and final say as much as I can. I want to extract the benefits from it and minimize the damages. And then we get to the I Ching, the ancient Chinese system. Again, always been one of my favorites. Was using it long before I was synthesizing them together here. I was always doing it separately, doing readings and also looking into I Ching. And for me personally, it was always consulting I Ching because it gives you direction, gives you absolute actions to take. It's one of the few modalities that is focused primarily on actions. So this system, again, very simple and very basic. We have 2 trigrams. There can't be any more. Straight lines, unbroken lines, and broken lines. The yin and the yang. Earth and heaven. The masculine and feminine. polarities, the yin and yang. So we have these two glyphs that represent, again, that division just beyond the singularity when manifestation becomes two. Everything comes from that. So we have these two trigrams, but how many ways are there to combine those? There are 8. And that's it. No more, no less. There are 8. And this also expresses, as we break it open, we go from the singularity, the monad, the one, to the two. And as we expand outward, now we get 8. We have 8 trigrams of these combinations of broken lines and solid lines. And that's it, just 8. And they express, again, a blend of the masculine and feminine, the yin and the yang, the polarities of manifestation that create manifestation. So now we have 8 trigrams, which when combined create 64 hexagrams. No more, no less. These are the absolute ultimate number of combinations. What does the red X mean? Oh, on spiritual triangle. On this, okay, there's a delay. So sorry about the delay. There's like a 30-40 second delay between whatever you say and whatever I see. Yes. Okay. The red X on your personal reading is where your first name ends. Anytime a name, first or middle name or last name, anytime a name ends, that is a juncture. So that means that a significant set of events are going to occur at that juncture. And I say significant, it could be anything. And I don't want to scare anybody, but mine, SCOTT, and my X was right here at 45. My death experience was at 47. So I think that qualifies as a rather significant event. Again, I don't want to scare anybody. That's just an example. It could be winning the lottery. It could be anything, but we can be assured that where one name ends, another begins, you're beginning a whole new context. Something tremendous, or significant, I should say, just significant, is going to occur in that phase. Now, as we get the magnified view, as we break down temporary years, even months, and I'm able to take numerology and sacred geometry and break it down, not just to that, but to exact specific days and even hours. And I've done it live with people. Had a guy walk into his reading and we're doing this and I'm giving it to him. This was years ago. And I said, look, man, I just was having fun. I said, I'll tell you what kind of day you had today. And I did the whole day. Then, and he was just scratching it going, wow, because I was nailing it. And again, I'm not saying specifically what was taking place. I can't know that. I'm telling you what kind of experience he was having, what kind of interaction he was having, and what he was thinking and going through himself. And he was jaw dropped. Then I told him, I'll use the minutes and the time right now, and I'll tell you exactly what you're experiencing right now, and broke that down. So that red X is an indication that a significant event or events are going to take place at that time, around that phase. Again, mine was at the 45, and my death experience happened at 47. It's close enough. I'm not saying that it's really wide and varied. I'm saying that, again, this is a blueprint. It's universal. It doesn't have to be customized for each individual. Does that answer your question? Give me the 30, 40 seconds. It's a good question, by the way. Very important question. Cool. So again, we're back at I Ching, 64 hexagrams. That's the no more, no less. Those are the combinations we can make with the two trigrams, 64. What is 6 plus 4? 10. Perfect. Perfection. We've gone through the sequence of 1 through 9. We've transcended. We've gone through 10. The singularity plus the God power. The 1 and the 0. The line and the 0. So again, it's not a coincidence that I Ching has 64 hexagrams because it's a perfect system. You can't have any more or less. Now, right away, the cynic in me, I'm thinking, well, if it has to end in a 10, how does tarot only come to with 78? That's 15. That's a 6. That isn't perfect. I'm working on it. Because whether it's astrology, I Ching, numerology, Tree of Life, I'm spending some time meditating, and I am finding out what or if there are missing octaves within the tarot, or if there are missing octaves within the Tree of Life, which can't be because Tree of Life is flawless. So sure, I suspect that tarot may have some missing frequencies. However, keep in mind, I don't know if I elaborated on this quite yet, back in the tarot section, tarot is, well, we'll get to that. Actually, we'll get to it next. We're going to Tree of Life, so I'm going to put a pin in that. So that's I Ching. 64 hexagrams that express all the human conditions the same way tarot does through these glyphs. Then we understand the broken lines and the even lines and how they match up and how they see what kind of vibration they create. You put a broken line on top or on the bottom, wherever it's at, it's going to have a different influence, right? Same thing with the moon or planets. Different kind of vibration, different frequency. So now we get to the Tree of Life. Again, I have a little bit of soft spot for this. I love Kabbalah. I think it's the cerebral snob that I am. I like it because it's complicated. I like that it takes a lot of intellectual challenge to get it in some ways. But at the same time, first of all, what I love about it is it's flawless. It truly, truly exposes the essence of the creative divine power of manifestation. It breaks it all down. And I just think it does such a wonderful, fantastic system of this. Now, I'll point out that to religious people, including and especially rabbis in Judaism, sometimes are up in arms about Kabbalah, and Christians about Rosicrucianism, and etc., because they feel that mystical paths have become a bastard child of the religions, that they've been stolen and converted into these mystical things that take away from the religious aspect. Mystics, we see the exact opposite, which means we know it's the opposite. The religions came out of the mystical modalities, not the other way around. The core of Judaism, the core of the Bible, the Torah. I like the Bible, that's a lame name. The Torah is what it's called. The core of the Torah, Elohim, God's name, the Tetragrammaton, is a coded system to attain spiritual enlightenment and divination. That's it. It ain't just a bunch of stories that teach you how to be good. That's part of it. But those stories that teach you how to be a good person and devote yourself and worship God, that's secondary, because ultimately it is a system, as all of them are, designed to be able to teach you and show you a system to be able to attain and become one with the divine power. Dramatic pause for effect. One with the divine power. So Kabbalah's Tree of Life. We have the Sephiroth, which are the spheres, the fruits on the tree. And if you're thinking when we think of Kabbalah and Torah, Old Testament tree, and if you're thinking the tree of good and evil, etc., tree of knowledge, etc., well, then you're thinking right, because that is exactly what those things represent. So the Sephiroth, with their Hebrew names, are the fruits on the tree, and the paths are the branches that connect them. Kether is the crown. This is the God power. The singularity occurs here. And the rest of it is the manifestation of the material phenomena, down to Malkut, which is Earth, our planetary experience, where we live. It goes through all of these different phases of manifesting creation. The expression, I like to think of it that way, the creative process is the expression of God's will. Om, the primordial sound. In the beginning, there was the sound. the word, and the word was Om. So with the tree of life, its use is to use as a tool to travel up the tree and to aspire to and experience divine consciousness, to become one with Keter, and even go beyond that, to experience the entire spectrum of the human condition through the Sephiroth and through the paths, so that we can pick up and learn from each one of them and evolve and grow and expand to become perfected. Now, there's many, many layers to Kabbalah. It syncs perfectly with Kundalini and the chakras. This is a model of the chakra system, the subtle body energy. Coincidence? In the East, they were doing Kundalini and chakras, and in the West, in Israel, they're manifesting this. Not a coincidence. It's a cultural way of explaining the exact same things. They didn't speak Sanskrit. They spoke Hebrew. So they come up with a system that made sense to them to explain the same thing, the same phenomena. So again, what we have here, and this was really hard to see because I can't make it any bigger. On each branch, what you have, which you're seeing in your readings, is the name of the branch. And so this first, for example, is Aleph, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And it's also the Fool and the Tarot. Tarot is a pictorial imagery teaching tool and expression of Kabbalah, nothing else. It was invented and created in the early Middle Ages to be able to express and teach the tree of life in a simpler way, in a way of images, because back in the days of being persecuted, if you were a mystic, and Jewish mystic especially, you didn't want to advertise that you were doing this kind of thing. So when the cops, when the sheriff of Nottingham would come around and ask what you were doing, oh, we're just playing a game called cards. It's not a coincidence that your everyday playing cards to this day match the tarot. You have your court cards, Jack, Queen, King, Ace, with the same thing in the tarot. 1 through 9, 1 through 10, the aces, and then the court cards. And the suits, same exact thing in tarot cards. So our playing cards evolved from, or devolved from tarot. Tarot became a coded system to be able to protect mystics from being persecuted, arrested, and murdered. And being able to pass on the information down the underground stream of knowledge. It isn't in images and pictures just for the protection purposes. It's also because a picture tells 1,000 words. It's very challenging to express and convey these kind of concepts in words. Images do much better. We feel our way rather than figure our way. So again, what you see here in your reading, which I give you little excerpts in your reading for your tree of life correspondence that shows you a little part of the path, part of the tree that's corresponding to. So you can see for yourself what I'm explaining, what I'm expressing, where it belongs on there. Again, it's not random. I didn't just randomly pick some tarot card that I intuitively felt was right for you. It lines up numerologically, tarot, astrologically, and those things match up here too, because any tarot card automatically, now you will see that the numerological number, the number of your tarot card in the deck, say card number 54, whatever it may be, if that's the number that's expressing your soul or your birthday or whatever it may be, we go to the 54th card in the deck, and it's whatever it may be. I'm assuming it's pentacles. 54. I'm guessing it's probably maybe a page of pentacles, and we find where that is on the tree, and it matches the same numbers, the same value. Hebrew letters are not just letters; they represent concepts. It's a very, very deep system. Now, one thing about Kabbalah and Tree of Life is random. The letters themselves have layered meanings to them that interact with and interchange with other values and other vibrations and frequencies. So the bottom line is this, the crux of it. The Tree of Life demonstrates the process of the divine's manifestation of material reality, material phenomena, but also in reverse, how we from the material phenomena can ascend back to the Godhead. Become one with, to become enlightened, to become spiritually realized with a capital R. Spiritually realized is the term that we use to become divinized, to become one with the God power. I don't want to become one with everything. Oceans and trees and birds and blah, blah, blah. That sounds beautiful, but I want to go more. Let's go to the Godhead. Let's become one with the God power, the divine essence of love, which is what God is. God doesn't have love. God is love. So the Tree of Life allows us to do just that as we get a closer look. It explains to us which card is on which path. This is, again, a bit of a trickier system that it is advisable to either study it a lot yourself and or work with a mystic that's trained in Kabbalah, because it takes a lot to get to know. I've always found it worth it because, again, it has layers and dimensions to it that for me are just profound. I mean, I don't think it's better than any of the other paths. I just think that for me, I kind of get off on the logistics and the knowledge of it and the details. I mean, I just enjoy that. It's a way, to me, the way of honoring the divine power is to be able to appreciate its nuances and its intellect. I mean, it's just, not only is it so cerebral and fun, but the fact that it's designed in such a way that we can actually grasp it. Now, what's not shown in this image is what's above Keter. And I actually have it. Actually, I'll go ahead and grab it and bring it over. Let's see if you can see that. So you can see, hopefully, that at the top of Keter is Ein Sof Hour, Ein Sof, and Ein. So above Keter, Keter represents the divine creative power of manifestation. It's where the singularity begins, where God's will begins the manifestation process of everything we know of the universe, the 7 days of creation. But above that is Ein Sof Hour. Very hard to describe into words, but I'll do the best I can in a very brief way. If this is the beginning of the mature manifestation of Keter, then Ein Sof Hour is God's inspiration and will to do it, the choice, the decision, the action of when. Ein Sof goes up a little bit even more. This is not just God's decision, but God's will and purpose and desire, his desire to manifest and create. And above that is Ein itself. The absolute essence, the core, the ineffable, the beyond perception, conception. Ein is that divine power, that divine love, the essence of all of it, where it all comes from, which truly is nothing but pure, unadulterated, absolute love, divine love. And in Sanskrit, we call it Prem. Prem is the divine love experience. Now in Hindi, they use Prem as love too, but in Sanskrit, which is where it comes from, divine love. So Ein represents the divine love. So we do have levels above this that we don't go into in your spiritual triangle reading because they're it's just a little bit too high up. That side. See if I have any text questions. Okay. What's next? Oh, a little bit about me. Krishnan Curriculum Vitae. I'm a master theologian, mystic initiate, master alchemist from Flamel College. Not only am I a master alchemist, I saw Dennis Hauck, Hauck, present in Los Angeles when I was a part of the OTO. He just came, there was like 10 of us. And somehow we persuaded him to come out and give a presentation on alchemy. And I knew very little about it. I was so blown away by this guy's 2-hour lecture on alchemy with his images. I was just absolutely mesmerized and blown away. Such a flawless system, such a wonderful, beautiful system, so powerful. I was clearly an alchemist in another life, and he was obviously. I think he would maybe have been Hermes himself. And so I went to him after his lecture and said, I want to become an alchemist. And he gave me the little brochure or whatever to go to Flamel College he was associated with that taught the course to become an alchemist. And I said, I'll only do it on one condition. You be my mentor. He's like, oh no, I don't do that. I travel and I teach and I write. I'm an author. So that's what I'm going to do it. I saw my opportunity. Sure enough, he liked my persistence. And so Dennis Hauck himself became my mentor. Every step of the way through the course, I was able to contact him, interact with him, and get some clarity. I submitted all my work to him for his for grading. A profound course. One of my favorite forms of mystical paths, mystical modalities is alchemy, which I'm also working on synthesizing into spiritual triangle. I haven't figured that quite out yet because there's only 7 stages of alchemy. If there was 9, then I know they fit right up. So I'm getting there. But give me some time. I'm going to absolutely synthesize alchemy with all these other systems because they do go together. A member of the International Alchemy Guild. That is the one that Sir Isaac Newton was a member of. It's been around for hundreds of years. Dennis Hauck was, and I think still is. I think he just recently retired. I know he did because he and I were in contact recently. And he became the head of the Alchemy Guild, International IAG, that's been around for hundreds of years. Oh, there we go. It says that. Then I'm also a 3rd degree ceremonial magician of the Ordo Templi Orientis, Dilemma, Enochian magic, etc. Ceremonial magic is a system to be able to direct your will. Ceremonial magic is often looked upon as occult and dark and all these kind of evil stigmas. It's absolutely a way to direct your will, to manifest things. There have been some very dark and evil ceremonial magicians, no doubt about it. The name just escapes me. But it always backfires. The bottom line is it's a wonderful system to be able to use your creative power to manifest things and to not just manifest material things, but to manifest your own spirituality and your own events in your life so that they can evolve you and take you up higher. And that's same with creative life. And it synthesizes perfectly with all the Western modalities, the mysticism. I'm very proud to be a 3rd degree ceremonial magician. I discontinued with ceremonial magic, not because it was a flawed system, but because I kind of moved on, which I'll get to. I had a Kundalini event in 1992, a full one. People are often talking about Kundalini, and I hear all the time, "Oh, I've got a Kundalini event." And look, take it from somebody who had a full blown one. If you survive it, you'll know the difference. A Kundalini event, a full one, is so potent and so powerful that many people go into what's called a Kundalini crisis and they don't come back because it will absolutely defy everything you know about reality. It is very hard to sustain, very hard to survive and intact and keep your sanity. It's more than a metaphysical or supernatural event of an alteration of consciousness. With the chakras, which integrate. Yes, great question, Audra. Thank you. Yes, this is what I'm working on. The chakras and all the subtle body energies sync already up to these other systems, especially Tree of Life, because Tree of Life has what we call the lightning flash, which is on my website. If you buy the Kabbalah book, it goes in lightning flash, and the Kabbalah book, I think, is like, again, it's like 45 pages. It took me years to be able to create that, to produce it. And it's selling for I'm selling for like $9 right now. And I think it's very much worthwhile. And it will go into exactly that. And so, yes, my work is currently to synthesize alchemy with spiritual triangle, these other correspondence, and as well as being able to correspond it with the different chakra travels and the paths that we take. And having a Kundalini event myself, I can tell you that now when it occurred with me, it wasn't spontaneous. It was initiated by a tantric initiatrix. I didn't know what was happening until it was occurring. Then she started explaining to me, oh, this is a Kundalini event. And what you are experiencing is exactly that. You're feeling, like in the tree of life, your dross, as you do in alchemy, you're trying to take the dross material phenomena of your existence and drive it up the spiritual channels, through the chakras, serpentining around them, one by one. And each one they go around, they pick up more energy. And then as it gets to the top, where they both join together into the crown chakra, get there on the tree, and it blossoms and expands and opens. And you literally feel like the top of your head is gone. You can't feel it. And you can feel your mind just expanding and ever opening. It doesn't expand and open or blossom. It continues to, which is why the lotus flower is a symbol of Kundalini and yoga in India. When you see a lotus flower actually expand and blossom on the top of the water, that's exactly how it feels. I can't tell it to you any other way. It's ineffable. You can feel your mind and your spirit expanding while simultaneously the universe itself and all knowledge is contracting within you. It's coming in while you're going out, simultaneous. In the material phenomena, we're used to things being one way or the other. I'm here, you're there. I'm here and I'm not there. If I'm there, then I must not be here. And wherever I am is here. But in the spiritual, divine, and supernatural phenomena, things simultaneously occur. We experience two things at once. There's not light or dark, it's light and dark. It's yin and yang, not yin or yang. That's what the Kundalini experience is. It's when we open up every chakra and it is clicking, synced up, reaching its absolute potential, harmonizing with all the other ones. Excuse me. So proficient in astrology, numerology, sacred geometry, tarot, I Ching, scrying. I used to read crystal balls when I was a little kid. I thought I was just messing around, but apparently I was pretty good at it. My mom used to bring her friends over. I was like 4 or 5 years old. I'm a student and devotee of Jagadguru Kripalu Maharaj. That's my guru. That's my master. I'll be back in a second. We'll get to him in just a second because that's a little bit much. I am also in the world, my worldly sense. My worldly name is Scott Spacky. I am Krishnanand. That's my spiritual name. That's what I go by. That's truly my name that my guru gave to me, and that's what I choose to be addressed as. But in the world, that's a little bit confusing for people. So my birth name was Scott Spacky. I am a 6-time award-winning author of 4 books. 4 releases. They're in print, ebook, and audio. I highly recommend them. You can get them on Amazon or any other place that you get books. Type in my name. I don't know if Barnes & Noble is still carrying them anymore. They're a pain in the ass vendor, and I don't really want to deal with them anymore. But I'm pretty sure you can still get them from Barnes & Noble too. But you can always contact me, and I prefer, if anyone wants to buy a book, buy directly from me. I'll autograph it for you. I'll give you not only the paperback book, but also give you a very special, unique, collectible, collectible set of USB that will include the audio and the ebook on it. Those are all on my other website, life-mind.com. Certified addiction specialist. Been in the addiction field for 15 years. I save lives around the world, and I have a book on that and a video course. It not only just changed drug addictions, but behavioral addictions, sex, food, anything you want. I'm a pioneer and an engineer in these areas. The recovery empire hates me because I empower people so they don't need them. I solve it. I would say cure. That's an incorrect term. I solve it. I provide addiction solutions. I'm a certified life coach, clinical hypnotherapist. Clinical hypnotherapist is quite different than a regular hypnotherapist. I'm clinically trained. Only HMI in California is the only school, the only college of hypnotherapy that provides that training. Clinical means that, yes, I can indeed have gone into surgery rooms and administered hypnotherapy to not only affect change, but to get people through clinical issues and concerns and physical ones as well. I also do that online. All my clients that I guide with mysticism, I will also sometimes participate in hypnotherapy. My video course is included. Private practice counselor since 2005. So it brings us kind of full circle. Spiritual triangle is that synthesis of these modalities. This is kind of what it looks like. We only have one person, I think, on YouTube who's possibly looking at her reading. Might have other people other places, and this will be shown, it'll be streamed, it'll be placed on my YouTube channel. So this is kind of what one looks like. This is mine. And again, you can see my name goes around. There's the X where my first name ends and my middle name begins. These combine with the frequencies that are in my power years. Also, on this 9-year cycle, I'm in a 20. On this 9-year one, I'm in a 3. But they also can get broken down by each year. So this is kind of what one looks like. There's the correspondences in here that you get along with it, how it breaks down with your name. That's the blueprint itself. Again, that's mine as a sample. I think it's kind of cool looking. Shows you the different ages. This is a sample reading that I was provided. This was actually from my death experience in 2013. It was June 19th. And so you use your birth date. Well, that was kind of easy for me because while my soul and my mind absolutely left my body, I can assure you of that. That is death. I was dead. I was killed. My soul and my body re-entered my body on June 28th in 2013, and that's my birthday. I was in a coma and awoke from my coma on my birthday. What are the odds of that? This is because I was continuing the same life experience and life purpose that I had before with modifications, because now my birth year went from 1966 to 2013. It's not, again, just a random coincidence. It's uncanny that I woke up from my coma. And again, I can guarantee you my soul was not there. I remember where I was on the other side. I remember when being there. I knew when I was there that I was in a hospital bed, and I wanted nothing to do with it. I was like, I'm cool. I'll stay over here. It's nice, peaceful, quiet. So this was a reading that I started for myself, kind of some excerpts from it, from my death experience in 2013. And I gave some presentations when I learned to talk again. When I was living in Washington, I gave some presentations there, and people wanted to see. So this gives you a sense of what a reading looks like, that you get the colorful images of your correspondences, if you're astrological, and your tarot, and your I Ching, and Tree of Life. And those all get broken down, and you've seen that it's much more lengthy than what I'm giving you here. You're usually going to get sometimes anywhere from a half page to a page and a half of a correspondence, especially in numerology. It gives you a complete analysis of your life purpose, your soul, your inner sense, your inner core being, your outer personality, how you express that to the world. That's very valuable to know how you can express your soul in an effective way to the world to accomplish your life purpose. And then, of course, your destiny. Now, your destiny isn't set in stone. This is what's going to happen. This is what you're going to leave behind. No, it's only if you fulfill your life purpose through the power of your soul combined with your outer personality. So what this reading does is give you the tools so that you can fulfill your life purpose and achieve your destiny. What is your destiny? It's not just what you leave behind, but what you're creating for your next life. Your karmas. Your destiny is your karmas. You are an expression of your karmas from past lives. the events, the circumstances of your current life are not just influenced, but detailed and imprinted, sacred geometry, etc. All these are imprinted like astrology because of your karmas, the actions and intentions that you had made in your prior lifetimes. Become your destiny. So what your spiritual triangle reading is giving to you is what corresponds attributes, influences, and enhancements that you have based on your birth date and name to be able to tap into. If you know what's in your bank account, your spiritual bank account, then you know what you can use and what resources you have access to be able to create your better karmas and your destinies, to be able to capitalize and elevate your consciousness from material to spiritual. It's not going to happen magically all on its own. It happens when we interact with it, when we activate it and get involved. So, and from birth to beyond death. Now, I'm also working on, and I've already pretty much done that when I'm asked, even though your blueprint goes from 0 to 81, when it comes back on itself, because we're not creating any more new karmas. Usually at 81, we're kind of old and we're not really creating new karmas. We're experiencing the old karmas. But we're either going to transcend and ascend back into the Godhead, or we're going to reincarnate and go back around. What spiritual triangle does is it shows you what the karmas that you're creating so that you can create better ones, because you're either getting out or you're coming back. And getting out is not just a choice. Oh, I don't want to come back. No, it doesn't work like that. Here are all these new age people talk about deciding to come back. Oh no, you don't get a choice, because no one would. We would always, all of us, stay back in heaven or divine realm. We wouldn't come back. Why would you go back to the ghetto? Look, as wonderful as the planet is and life is, it's the ghetto compared to the spiritual experience, the divine dimension. So you are determined, you are bound to come back and reincarnate again and again and again, because you have karmas to experience. What kind of karmas is up to us? Material karmas, being healthy, materially comfortable, etc., or spiritual karmas. They're different. Everything, there's two phenomena, spiritual and material. That's it. If it ain't spiritual, then it's material. Now, we can convert with intention. When I eat and feed my body, I am consciously aware that when I fortify my body, that I can use my body to serve my spiritual intention, to meditate, to do this work, to serve God in any way that I can. So my material actions get converted into spiritual ones by intention, by being aware, by consciously applying them. It's that simple. By converting our life into spiritual phenomena with our intention and our actions, and the more we practice it, the better we get. A spiritual triangle is there to provide you with the insights and the tools, the blueprint, to be able to engineer and construct your life into a spiritual one, to build the house, the spiritual house, for you to be able to live in and to go beyond. We're creating karmas either way. What we need to do is to be able to interact with and be the deciding factor on what kind of karmas we're going to create. You have free will. What kind of karmas do you want to create? Material ones or spiritual ones? Now, I'm saying material ones like it's a four-letter word. It's not. When you're charitable and you're kind and you're good, you're creating good material karmas, but they're still material. You will receive the consequence, the benefits of good material actions and intentions by being charitable and kind, by being good. However, you're still bound in the material phenomena. Only when you do spiritual things with a spiritual intent do you create spiritual karmas, which give you opportunity for knowledge and insight and intuition to be able to continue your spiritual journey, not your material one. the point of material manifestation. This whole thing is about how mysticism exposes and reveals the process of the creative power of manifestation. And the reason to know that is because only then can we convert our material phenomena and experiences and our events and our actions into spiritual ones, so that we can become spiritized and divinized. That's the whole point. This is not a system or a class or a workshop or a tool to simply have a better life. You'll have that too, for sure. You'll have a better experience. You'll have more fun. I've always said that even if spirituality is bullshit, I'd rather die in my illusion than live in the material reality. Even if I found out that God didn't exist, which is impossible, because the only way I'd find that out is that something divine told me. But even if I found out that it wasn't, I wouldn't change a thing. I'd rather live in this magic that I believe to be true, that I know to be true, than to be deprived of it and live within just a material phenomena of just seeing life as material experiences that I see the world doing all the time. And I think, how can you get up every day and not find the magic and beauty and the gorgeosity in your everyday experience and be able to honor it and exalt it and participate in it? Spiritual Triangle is a service that's offered to help you realize your evolution of spiritual consciousness, to refine it, to enhance it, to expand it. For a long time, I wasn't angry at my death experience, but I was confused. Why? I was already spiritual before. That's all I lived for. Why was the God power systematically removing everything that I had built with a spiritual intent? And it wasn't too long ago that the truth was revealed to me. And it was because, as spiritual as I was, there was a whole another level and dimension that I wasn't going to access until and unless I became even more grateful and more devoted. And that's what it is. When I think of God's love for me, that He was willing to kick my ass as a parent, it is so hard to inflict pain upon your children, to teach them what they need to know, to give them to the next step of their evolution and growth. If it's going to hurt me more than it hurts you, we say to them, and they think that's crap. As parents, we know that it's true. My divine parent, my divine mother, my divine father, the divinity itself, cared enough about me to strip me brutally of everything that I thought was important, to give me another depth, another octave of my spirituality. I wouldn't have it any other way. I surrender my will to the divine power. Put me through whatever it wants and needs to bring me home. So this is what Spiritual Triangle can do. What I try to offer is a guide to be able to capitalize on the features and phenomena that we have in our existence that were designed for this incarnation, to be able to take them to a whole other level. That's what the service is for. That's what these sessions are for. Spiritual Triangle gives you that tool to use and draw back on. But I also offer counseling and guidance sessions to be able to help you interpret it and be able to, again, expand it, take it deeper. So this is what one kind of looks like. Several pages. The blueprint, correspondences. Oh, this is the sample that I was going to use when I was in last week's workshop, when Emily was here and she had her full reading done. She won the kind of lottery of it, and she was able to read it. And I was able to get, if I may read it, somebody from last week enjoyed the presentation enough where they actually purchased and secured a full reading. And I was able to email her a portion of the reading that was completed before today even. And I thought I had it. I guess I don't. Sorry about that. Anyway, so again, what I love about this work, same with my writing work as an author, the dimensions and the layers that people get out of it. Dominice is a client that was kind enough to do a video testimonial for me for the website. And when she, in a very authentic, humorous way, she's chuckling when she says, you think you know what Krishnananda is saying to you, and you're like, well, that's great, I get that's and it is profound. And then 2 days later, you realize you didn't get it at all. That there was a layer to it, dimensions to it that you thought you were understanding, that there was, and you were getting it, but there's layers and dimensions to it that just keep on giving. This is the point of the word, the service that I offer, is that it just keeps on giving to you. It grows with you, it evolves with you. As you evolve, it's already thought of ahead. And so what I'm seeing, I'm veiling it, and you'll see those layers as time goes on. I only offer my services to every one of you. It's a joy and it's an honor to be able to participate in the healing and growth of individuals. I'm not a healer of the body, laying on of hands. I'm a healer of the spirit and of the mind. My role is to be able to, try to convert and use all of my knowledge and experience, from death to Kundalini to studying, to be able to save you a lot of time. Same as I was a clinical counselor. My role is to save you a lot of time, to tell you what to do to make it right and to do it well. It's up to you if you want to do it. I'm just here to present the information and knowledge for you, to be able to put together any way that's going to work for you. So that'll pretty much kind of wrap us up. Are there any questions? Get that little delay. And I think that's it. Oh, so I'll ask one last thing. So which modality should you use? I Ching, Tarot, Kabbalah, Tree of Life that I spoke so highly of? In 2003, I was a member of the OTO, Ceremonial Magic. These are some images of me then. And we would meet often, once a week or more often, do rituals and ceremony, and have discussions about the profundity and the knowledge of astrology and all these different modalities. And we were going to be putting on a presentation for the public. And we were preparing for that, rehearsing and preparing for the presentation for the public. And it was getting late, and I sat with my back against the wall, and it was like I had a voice inside my head. There was a presence, and it said, you don't need to be here anymore. You got what you came here for. You don't need to come back. I didn't question it. I didn't need to know who it was or where it was coming from. I could sense that it was not me, that it was something divine. It was a teacher, and I trusted it, and I said, okay. And I got up from the Ordo Templi Orientis that night, which I'd been a member for quite a while. I was very integrated with them, and I love them a lot. Great people, very caring, very loving, very smart. And I said my goodnights, and I went home. I never went back. Not because I was disillusioned or upset, but because I was done. I got what I could from it, and I moved on to something else. I'd already been reading the books that I had come across. I had met one of my divine teachers from India and read his books and was absolutely blown away. That all the lifelong studies that I had done this enlightened being was just explaining all this stuff in such a simple and easy way to become God realized. And that was my beginning of my association with him. So which path should someone use? Whatever works, whatever resonates for you. Never pause for a moment when you find something that works even better. Again, I started out with tarot, quickly went on to numerology. It was like ding, 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 that just worked for me. Sacred geometry, I Ching, Kabbalah, Tree of Life. I don't think any one of them are better than the other. It was just, for me personally, they resonated more and then even more. And then I came across the teachings of Jagaguru Kripala Maharaj, an enlightened master, a divine personality. And it completely changed me. And I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm simply saying that when you come across the path, the system, the teacher that resonates with you, don't be afraid to change and go a different direction. You're evolving and you become more qualified. And eventually, when you're ready for your teacher appears. There's a saying in the Sanatana Dharma Hindu path that says, your guru is as close to you as you are now. Your guru is never far from you. Your guru has known you for thousands of years, since eternity, and is always, always, always waiting right there with you in your heart, waiting for you to choose to look towards it. And if you want the warmth of the sun, well, then don't turn away from it, turn towards it. We often need a guide, a teacher to explain to us these processes because they're beyond us. We're not stupid, we're just people. I like to offer my knowledge as a service to those, to save them a bunch of time, to save the volumes and volumes of material that I had to read, to be able to condense it down and be able to offer that to you in a simpler way. So you don't have to spend a lifetime of reading like I did to get it. And my guru did that for me. He came into my life and distilled it all down and gave me all of it in a very simple and easy way to understand. And then, of course, because he's divine, it was imbued with his grace. That's something that I cannot offer you. I can offer you knowledge and truth. And hopefully that will activate and initiate you to even go to another level beyond me, what I'm offering to teach you. But in the meantime, participate in the readings that I offer that aren't just fortune telling, but are guides and tools to use to elevate and expand your consciousness. The workbooks that I offer, the sessions, the live sessions, I think are the most profound, to be able to work one-on-one with people and guide them. And again, I'm not ever trying to guide them towards my goal. It's whatever goal they want. Somebody reaches out to me and says, I want a more Kabbalah. Okay, let's work on that. Happy to. I may have gone to a different direction, but I know it and I love it and I respect it. So maybe want nothing to do with that and just want Tree of Life. Remember, just want tarot. Now, I can expound on how tarot is integrated, a part of Tree of Life, but if that's not what they want, that's okay with me too. Any path you choose, dedicate your life to it, to your goal. Don't become so diverse and so divergent that you get splintered or tangential. Experiment with and sample them all. And eventually, the right one or specific ones will reach out and speak to you specifically. Those are the ones that you want to get really involved with. If there are no more questions, we'll close it here. I want to thank you for your time. Whether you're watching this online at a later date or here live on Facebook and or YouTube or on my website, thank you for your time. And thank you for your questions. And I'm accessible. Email, my phone numbers are out there. I have no problem with interacting with people and texting them. I'm not inaccessible in any way. I love sharing the knowledge and the truths. So reach out at any time. In the meantime, Agape 93, which means love, spiritual love, and knowledge, all these different terms. In the future, personal full readings are discounted all. Next meetup, what do you want to know? More spiritual triangle? Want to know about the near-death experience? How about or any of the specific mystical correspondences of Tarot I Ching? Let's take a kind of a vote. Let's see which ones we want to know more about. What would you like me to expound on? Near-death experience? Any one particular modality? Each modality can have multiple workshops just on its own. Kundalini? Let's get into all of them. Let's have some fun. Let's get our knowledge on. Go through the website, take a look around, and see what is there for free. The primers of each correspondence, I try to make those understandable and fun to read and not too hard. So they stimulate you intellectually, those of us who are more cerebral-minded, but they're also accessible to people that can just, it's in layman's terms. Enjoy that. And I'd love your feedback on what you would like our next meetups topics to be talked about. And I have one specific plan in the near future called the Underground Stream. That one is going to be more of a qualified, exclusive course. That's going to expose the falseness of many of the paths that are out there and the truth of the many of the paths that have been convoluted and changed over time. Christianity and Judaism, how these things have been polluted in many ways, transformed from what they really originally were. They are beautiful and perfect. And what I like to do is restore them and present them in their authenticity. That would be the Underground Stream course. I'd like you to think about that. In the meantime, be well and take care, and I'll see you another time. I'm going to disconnect now. Bye-bye.